retired, and if they've retired, they continue to find ways to be active. So living in an environment that supports interaction makes it easier and more manageable to stay socially engaged. So reason number 2 is the house becomes a burden. And someone used this phrase last week when I was with them, and I really liked it. And it was, first we own a house, and then it owns us. And sometimes managing a household can become a burden. With a burden comes stress. Stress comes exhaustion, which could lead to health issues. Personally, I know that I do not want to shovel snow one more time this year. It's been 3 times. I have a very steep driveway. My husband refuses to hire anyone. He's out there shoveling. I'm stressed out. We're barking at each other. It's just really unpleasant. So that's stress. So I'm kind of getting there too, thinking maybe this is not such a good idea. So by reducing the burden of owning a home and the upkeep of the home, it does free you up to do the things that you want to do. So the last reason is health and wellness. So in addition to staying socially active, reducing stress, a key component to successful aging is proper nutrition and exercise. You know, we all know living a sedentary lifestyle can increase the risk of disease, falls, which then leads to hospitalizations. Also, living alone and also naturally occurring changes in our appetite can cause poor nutritional choices, and that leads to poor health. So living in a community that provides meals, most people find that they have fewer doctor visits, increased energy, and just sort of an overall positive outlook on life. I know personally, not having to cook dinner after the last 30 years, I would have a more positive outlook on life myself. So unfortunately, many people do find themselves in a reactive rather than a proactive mode. And because if they're already having declining health issues, then you're being reactive. So this is why step 1 in the process is so important. And that's about creating a plan in advance.
So as Laura said, step 1 in the downsizing process is critical. The decision as to where you're going to move, when you're going to move, and how your lifestyle is going to look is made by you rather than by someone else. And the best time to make these decisions is when you have more choices rather than fewer and are actually able to make those decisions for yourself. When a family member, doctor, or other well-meaning advisor makes a decision for someone to move, it's not typically well received. I don't know about you, but I don't like being told what to do. And if I'm going to be told what to do, I want to have some say in it. So truly step 1 in the downsizing process of Downsizing Made Easy is creating the plan. And it involves being actively engaged in the research of, the interviewing of, and the decision-making process of where and when you're going to move.
So that sounds easy, right? You know, sure, Jan, I'll just make a plan. So you're not sure where to start. Today's the perfect place. You don't have to be moving tomorrow, next week, this year, next year, even in a couple of years. But you need to think about it so you can have control over it. And maybe you don't want to move at all, and that's fine too. Most people don't. But the question you need to ask yourself is, what if? What if something happens? Do you want to be the one making the decision, or do you want someone else to make it for you? And if you are the one who wants to be making that decision, you want to have a plan in place. So here's a couple things to think about. You know, what kind of lifestyle are you looking for? What level of social interaction do you want? Thinking about your finances, thinking about your current health and maybe any long-term health issues that you may be facing. What is transportation? Is that important to you? Do you want to drive? Do you want to have somebody else take care of that for you? And then what sort of hobbies and interests do you have that you might want to pursue? So the thoughts are, what is necessary to prepare for a future move? So this is where it can get confusing. It's confusing, but it's also exciting because we live in an area that has so many options. You really can find what it is that fits what you're looking for. And one of the reasons clients like working with us is we'll help you do that. We will sit with you and have as many conversations as you want. We'll tour with you. We'll help guide you to see what's best for you and your family. So I'm going to do an overview of the options. I'm going to describe each option, and then I'm going to give you a couple of examples of those options in our community. And I don't want you to view this as me promoting those communities. It's for education purposes, so you can kind of put it together. You might have a friend who lives in one of these communities, and then you'll have that aha moment of, okay, this is what this community provides. The first thing that's important to know that your options are not just limited to senior living communities. All right. Oftentimes I have clients who live in the big house now, and they just want something more manageable. So the option to move into an apartment or a condo or a townhouse, moving from large to more manageable, is a very good option. And we're also lucky that we have many neighborhoods that are conducive to aging in place. I don't know if you're familiar with the term the Villages, but the Villages is a grassroots movement of neighbors helping neighbors, so people can stay and age in their homes, whether that be the large home or the smaller home. And just some examples are, there's one in Friendship Heights, Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Rockville. There's actually 26 current villages in Montgomery County, and more to come. So another option is your 65 and over communities, 55 and over, I'm sorry. It can be 62 and over, 55 and over. These are communities, excuse me, where you have a wealth of options on style of home you'd like to live in. The requirement is you live independently, but you're with like-minded people, and you have lots of social activities at your fingertips. Some examples of an active 55 and over community in our area is Leisure World, excuse me, and the Woodlands of Urbana. So now I'm going to walk you through a lot of terms that you've traditionally heard. And I'm going to explain them as separate entities, but recognize that in today's world, often these are combined. You may have an independent living community that offers assisted living. You may have assisted living that also offers memory care. So I'm going to talk to you about them independently and then describe a couple to you. So with independent living, you either own or you rent your property. The key there is you must be able to live independently in order to qualify to move into independent living. The residence is yours. You own your keys, privacy. You've got the ability to come and go as you please. Independent communities also offer meal plans. You probably have a kitchen, so you could cook, but you don't have to. If you drive, typically there's parking available. If you don't want to drive, there's the ability for transportation. They offer some level of cleaning services. They have exercise programs, social programs. One key though is some are pet friendly and some are not. So if pets are important to you, that's an important question to ask. You don't want to wait until a crisis strikes to try to move into independent living, because it may no longer be an option to you. So some examples of independent living in our area are the Fox Hill Residence, Kensington Park. At Kensington Park Place, they have one building that's independent, one that's assisted, and one that's memory care. You have Modena, which is a new community that just opened in Kensington. That's all of those are within one building. And then you also have Cadence, which is a new community that just opened up in Olney. So the next level of care is assisted living. Now, assisted living is really for people who just need a little bit more help. You know, I'm sure you've heard the term activities of daily living, or ADLs. So in assisted living, they're providing you that level of help. Assisted living typically is a monthly fee. They're state licensed, and they have different levels within the state licensing program on what they're allowed to offer you. It's private pay. So it's not covered by your health insurance. May be covered if you have long-term health insurance, but it is typically private pay. You still have your independence, but generally you do not have a full kitchen, and they're providing you 3 meals a day. They don't provide major medical care. It's all dependent on their licensing, but they'll do some level of medical care. And if you need more care, oftentimes you can bring in a healthcare aide or someone from the outside to help you manage. A couple of examples in our area, and there's a lot. There's Victory Housing, the Brightview communities. Brandywine of Potomac is a new community. The Seneca in Rockville is a new community. And then there's the Sunrise communities. The next level of care is skilled care. And this is what traditionally we would have called a nursing home or a long-term care facility. These communities are designed for people who need 24-hour care, either rehab or long-term care. And it's interesting because they're not age restricted. People of many different ages can live in these communities. It's just the level of care that they require. So some examples are Carriage Hill, Sacred Heart Home, and the ProMedica skilled nursing communities. And then I'm going to talk about memory care. Oftentimes now you'll see memory care is part of a community. But what you may not realize is there are separate standalone memory care communities that have been created just to help families and people that have either dementia, Alzheimer's, or some sort of memory issue. So that's the only thing they do is work with memory care. I personally have experience with this, and it was a good fit for my family. An example in our area is the Artist Senior Living in Potomac that just opened, and they have one in Olney. So lastly, and I apologize that I'm talking a lot, but there is a lot to cover here, our continuing care retirement communities. You may have heard the term CCRC or a life plan community. And what's interesting about them is they contain everything I've talked about. They've got the full spectrum of lifestyle and healthcare options. Your independent, your assisted, your memory care, your long-term care. Typically, people move into these communities at independent, and they purchase what's called a life care plan, meaning that they'll stay there through the spectrum if they need other future care. In order to qualify, as I mentioned, typically you have to come in at the independent level, and each community has its own fee structure and what's required. So that's a deeper conversation based on the community you're looking at. But they offer meal plans, travel opportunities, fitness programs, just a variety of social activities. So some examples by us would be the Riderwood communities, Ingleside has communities, and Maplewood Park Place. So that's a lot of information at once, and I hope I didn't talk too fast. But if anyone wants to have a deeper conversation, just reach out. Happy to talk to you about this in further detail. And help
Thank you, Laura. I know a lot of the folks on the call are in this industry as service providers, but for any of you who have not recently visited many of these communities, it's amazing what's offered these days. I mean, every time Laura and I go to them, we're like, I could live here. You have a room for me? It's like living in a resort in many cases. So this brings us to step 2. Once you've decided what lifestyle you choose as you age or as you need increased assistance, the next step is to communicate your desires with the people in your life. Our experience is that moves go much more smoothly and are much less stressful when the client's family is informed in advance. Why is this? Well, not only does the client have a say in their decisions, but the family is empowered to make decisions with confidence should they need to. This is not about asking for permission as much as it is about clarifying expectations and getting buy-in. Although this may be a difficult conversation to have, it can make all the difference in the world when it comes to making a move. Not all families communicate effectively. Maybe that's just my experience and not yours, but we found that as clients who make decisions in advance and inform their children or their support systems have a much simpler and hassle-free move. If everyone's trying to do what's best and they aren't sure of your wishes, it can create stress for you and for them. Our Downsizing Made Easy guide has forms and tools included that make communicating this information easy. We give one of these to all of our clients and people we meet personally for planning consultations. Some of our clients are ready to move right away, while others may be years out. This guide helps to walk people through the process. Communicating your intentions effectively is all about how you say it. For instance, you could say, honey, I just wanted you to know that your father and I have been doing some research and we've toured a few communities here locally that we've found that we like. We're planning to sell our home within 6 months and we're moving to X community. We just wanted to let you know. Do you have any questions? And here's a sample letter that you can share with your family and other people that are part of your support system. That should be in your handout as well.
Okay, so we've done step 1 and step 2. So the next step is making sure you have the support you need to help you make the move as simple as possible. So you've made your plan, you've figured out where you want to go, and then you get the call. It's go time. Your apartment, your unit, wherever you're moving is ready. So what happens next? The questions come up like, where do I start? Who do I call? And the key is to surround yourself with professionals who are familiar with the complexities of this type of move, and they know what they're doing. And on the slide here is just kind of a sample of different professionals that we have partnered with, that we have vetted, that we can offer support from. The key is you want to remain in control of decisions, and then you want a support team there to make the move as hassle-free as possible. And it's not too soon to start figuring this out. These are a few examples of people who we have relationships with that can confidently recommend as you go forward. And we can also project manage for you. The last thing you want is to be exhausted, sick, or in pain after a move. So it's not uncommon for people who are making downsizing move to kind of get hung up here. So I might be a bit biased, so I'll admit this up front, but I would recommend you first call a realtor, someone who knows how to work you and help you through this process. Doesn't have to, Jan and I, we're good at this, but there's also a lot of other people out there too. So do your homework and find someone that you trust that can help you and has done this type of move before. As you saw on the previous slide, we have a team of vetted vendors. We can bring in the support you need. If there's something you need that we don't have, we'll research it, we'll find it for you. So knowing that you've got service providers that are familiar with this type of move can be very comforting to both you and your family members. And it takes a lot of burden off your adult children or other people that are helping you. So I'm just going to throw a story in here that recently happened to me. It'll kind of help you understand how this all works or potentially could work for you. I had a woman, a client, who was moving from her home to a community and just had a lot of stuff and didn't know where to start. So we brought in a few different move managers that she interviewed, and she found someone that she just clicked with. So this person helped her in so many ways. She helped her figure out what to take with her, created a floor plan for her on where her stuff would go in her new apartment, helped her figure out where her stuff should go to her family and how to get it to her loved ones, what could be donated, and maybe what had value. So the way a move typically works is you have a packing day and then a moving day. So about a day or so before packing, her daughter arrived from out of town. And I'll say she's swooped in. And I say that because I'm a swooper. Like, I'm a fixer in my family. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to arrive and I'm going to take care of everything. And that was her daughter's personality also. So she swoops in thinking that she's going to be packing boxes, that she's going to be, hanging pictures, and none of that needed to be done. So instead, while the packers were packing, the mom and daughter went out to lunch. They went to Target, they bought a few towels for the new bathroom because it was a new paint color, and they had a really delightful day. So delightful that they did it the next day. And at the end of the day, they had to walk into the new apartment, open the door, and everything was done for them. So I don't know about you, but I'm sure we've all moved before, and it has not been a pleasant experience, right? It has been stressful. And in this case, it was like they kept using the word, this is like magic. It was wonderful. So that's my little story. But that's just kind of an example of how there is support out there for you to make this easy.
So this brings us to step number 4. One of the biggest challenges that older adults and family members have is deciding what to do with personal possessions, what we call stuff. When someone's lived in their home for 30, 40, 50 years, they typically have accumulated quite a lot of stuff. One of the most common statements we hear from our older adult clients is, I'm just too overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. They want to make a move, or they need to make a move, but they're truly overwhelmed with the immensity of the task. Naturally, if we're working with them, we can connect them with resources to help with this project and even be their project manager. But for those who want to tackle this on their own, we have a few tips to simplify the process. Start small, just 15 minutes a day. A closet or even a cabinet is a great place to start. Items typically fall into 5 categories: keep and move, donate, sentimental value for the family, trash, or sell. As you're sorting, go ahead and give away those items you want to donate or give to family members, and label or pack those things you want to keep and move. The best part is that estate liquidators can take care of the rest. They also know what has value and what doesn't, so if in doubt, let them help you decide. And speaking of estate sales, most people think estate sales happen when someone dies. They passed away and their house is left and their family has an estate sale. Well, that's not necessarily true. Most estate sales occur while the person is still living and they've made the decision to downsize. An estate sale or auction is generally the best solution in most cases when someone's downsizing and moving into a smaller place. Naturally, this is someone we have as a trusted resource can help connect you with the right people for the job. Remember, the goal is to simplify. Garage sales are exhausting and are rarely as profitable as estate sales or auctions, even after commissions.
Okay. So hooray, step 5. You've done it. You made it happen. You know, you've made your move. You're settling into a new place. It's time to reflect and celebrate. You've simplified your life. You've created space and time to do more of what you enjoy. And maybe it's time to pick up that hobby that you hadn't had time to enjoy before, or maybe volunteering someplace where you think you can make a difference. But here, you need to recognize that it may take some time to adjust and be patient. You know, just like there's 3 primary reasons to move, there are 3 key factors that are positively correlated with a successful adjustment to a new lifestyle. The first is your level of optimism. If you think it's going to be great, probably will be. If you think it's going to be negative, it probably will be. And I think that's just in life. You want to make sure you have a support network of family and friends and a support team around you who care about you. Your level of activity. You want to stay involved in the process, the whole process, and the process of getting acclimated to your new environment. You know, as you celebrate your move, remember, you may have a little trouble emotionally adjusting. You know, paying attention to how you feel is very important. And if you do need additional support, please reach out to your healthcare provider, regardless of your age, whether, moving is one of those top 10 critical stress factors. And plus, you've moved from a home that you've been in 20, 30 plus years. It's very natural for people to have a mix of emotions. So to be healthy, both physically and emotionally, during and after the move, it's very important to be well rested, hydrate, eat right. And my favorite is talk. Talk about how you're feeling. You may want to keep a journal or a notebook. Write down your thoughts as you go through the process. Maybe it'll trigger you to remember something that you want to ask one of your providers, or somebody who's helping you, or a family member. But overall, you did it. Celebrate. Enjoy it.
So let's review the 5 steps. Step 1, you've created your plan. Step 2, communicate with your family, friends, and your support systems. Step 3, surround yourself with professionals. Step 4, deal with the house full of possessions. And step 5, celebrate your new lifestyle. So at this point, we'd like to open it up for questions. You can either unmute yourself and ask or pop it in the chat window. And we are ready for your questions. We're so glad you all could join us today. We'll be doing these seminars monthly, and our next one is on February 16th. Same time, same place. This one will be partnering with the Alzheimer's Association, and in honor of Valentine's Day, the presentation will be Ways to Love Your Brain, and will be presented by a trainer with the Alzheimer's Association. So we'll be sending out the information on that soon.
It's really, really helpful information, Jan and Laura. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Charlie.
Yeah, good stuff. Moving is stressful enough, much less for this category.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, the stuff issue is what really throws people for a loop when they first start thinking about this. Like, oh my God, I've lived in this house for 50 years. Where do I start? Right? I mean,
I think I'm going to start calling you Dr. Phil.
We have a couple of questions in our chat.
Oh, we do.
Do you
Okay.
ever refer clients to companies like Oasis or OWL Be There?
I'm not sure what Oasis or OWL are. Adele, can you share with us some information about those two organizations? Oh, you're muted, Adele. There
Can
you go.
hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, and there are one or two other organizations. These companies offer to the client free of charge to take them on tours to facilities to see which would be the best fit for the client. Once the client makes the decision and moves in, these professionals are paid by the facility. So it's completely free. I believe another one is ProCare or something like that, but there's Oasis, I'll Be There. I used one of these when I moved my parents here from North Carolina, because I was, even though I'm a senior move manager, I was overwhelmed with the choices and had visited 20 myself. And you want the best for your parents, you want the best for your clients. And the man who helped me really gave me a different perspective. I found it very helpful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Sure. We will do that with our clients also. We'll tour with them and we'll talk to them about that. But I like that because it's another level of support.
Mm-hmm.
So they could get another opinion also, because we're not going to give opinions about which is the best. We're going to take them and show them what they are.
Right. Yeah. They don't give opinions so much as facilitate meetings.
Okay.
Because they
That's
have
great to
gone
know.
and met with the executive directors of all of these establishments.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
very good to know. By the way, folks, before you hop off today, we have a few more questions, but we also have a link to our seminar survey in the chat. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, we'd really appreciate that. Let's see, another question is, can you repeat the examples of independent living options in the area, starting with Foxwoods?
I'm happy to do that. So there's the Fox Hill residence.
Fox Hill.
There's Kensington Park. It's actually Kensington Park Place. And they have one building that is independent living, one that's assisted, and one that's memory care. You have Modena, that is new to the area, that has all three types of services in one building, and that's in Kensington. And you have Cadence in Olney. These are just examples, though. There are many, many more independent communities in our area that offer different levels of services.
And then someone's asking, can you speak about the cost of professionals one might consult? Well, that of course is going to vary depending on your needs. But if one decided to work with us, our company does have a program called Concierge, which if liquid cash is a bit of a concern, or maybe it's just an inconvenience, we can front the money for services that are needed to get a home on the market or to get someone settled, with reimbursement taking place at settlement. Now that's when there's a home sale involved. When there's not, and you're just looking to consult some professionals, again, that cost is going to vary depending on what your needs are.
Yeah, and just as in life, it's always a recommendation to interview multiple service providers. We'll do that with you. We'll make some recommendations, but we'll be there for interviews and make sure that the pricing is appropriate and there's a connection between you and the person who's going to help you. If, for example, if it was a move manager.
Adele, you're muted. I see you maybe asking a question. You're still muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
All of the facilities are listed online in the source book, the retirement source book. It's an exhaustive survey or listing of independent assisted memory care, you name it, in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. And that's the source book.
The pro-aging source book that Steve Gurney.
Correct.
Yeah, it is a very extensive list. And of course, we're always happy to answer any questions that people might have. Having toured many of these ourselves can be an overwhelming decision. Yes, Meryl.
what I have found with some of the families that I have talked to is they want their loved one located close to where they live, so that they can get over, not only to see them more often, but get over in case of an emergency where they need to be present. So a lot of times the family puts in their 2 cents, and for a logical reason. So that can also have an impact on where a person or a couple moves to.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we think it's important to communicate with the family ahead of time, and make sure that they know that you're in charge and you're going to make that decision, but you want them to feel comfortable about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we have another question here. Can you distinguish between the places that require a large fee for entry and those that are strictly rental options? Bob, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you in detail about that afterwards, if you'd like. Laura, do you have anything to add at the moment?
Yeah, Bob, I think it'd be important to know what area you're looking in, where you're thinking, because in the DC metro area, there's so many different types of communities. And like I said before, it's great we have all this availability. Typically, I will say that the CCRC communities do require either you're purchasing your unit or you're paying an upfront entry fee. Some of the other independent communities that I mentioned that have, let's say, independent or assisted and memory care within them, some of those are rental type options. So love to talk to you and see, like, okay, here's the region you're looking in, and we could give you more information about the particular ones that might be a good fit for you.
Just quickly, Meryl, before you ask your question, the link is updated. I did not realize we had to have permissions. So that's updated and should work now for everyone.
Thanks, Jesse.
Oh, and thanks,
I just-
Judy said some are buy-in fees with rental after all, and some are small entry fee plus monthly rental. It all varies. You said it better than I did, Judy. Thank you.
Go ahead, Meryl.
I was going to add, this is why it is so important to talk to people such as yourself, because for somebody to go into a place that, they're going to find out there's a $75,000 upfront fee, why waste their time, and why even go through the embarrassment of, oh my gosh, and say thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
So
Bob
I love what you're doing. I really do. You're just packing everything together into one suitcase is what I call it.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a need for it. As Laura and I are aging ourselves, and as a matter of fact, I just purchased a retirement home in South Carolina that I'll be renting out until I'm ready to retire. But just that whole process, putting the plan in place, right? That took a lot of thought and courage, really, to think about, okay, where do I want to be? What type of community do I want to be in? What kind of house do I want to, it's quite something.
And part of that process that you're just describing requires that you accept that you're getting older.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. Judy,
one of our other questions, can you distinguish between the places that require a large fee for entry and those that are strictly rental options?
Oh yeah, I think we caught that one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. And Judy is mentioning that it's good to have a guide to apply for housing. There can be a lot of paperwork. Some clients need help managing their paperwork and medical exams, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the kind of service you would provide, Judy? As what you do with your downsizing?
Yes, absolutely. And some people don't need that, but some of our clients can be, depends upon people's energy or cognitive status, just flat out energy, because those paperwork can be daunting. And some require also current medical information. So clients may have to go all of a sudden go up and get a physical or do this or do that. So it can be a little daunting.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's good to know you're there and you offer that service. Tony is asking, will those of us participating today automatically be invited to future seminars? Well, we certainly can make sure of that. Tony, tell me your last name or put it in the chat if you wouldn't mind. Charlie, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Jesse, did you post that new link to the survey, the questionnaire?
I did. So I had to update their permissions when we had tested this yesterday because of all of us, our collaborators. It worked. It wasn't working for anybody else. So now it should be working. Dan just had a problem, but I think it should be good now. If anybody cannot access it, please let me know and we'll make sure to get you the correct survey link. Maybe email it to you all after we're
Yeah,
done.
we can definitely.
I just got in.
Perfect.
Awesome. Someone's asking, does anyone have an opinion about Goodwin House in Alexandria? We have not toured Virginia communities, to be quite honest, even though we're licensed in all 3 jurisdictions. We focused on Montgomery County and DC. But Bob, if you have some interest in that community, we'd be happy to get some information and get back to you.
I have a friend who is there now, and I've had friends who have been there and they love it.
Oh, tell us more, Charlie. Glad you're here.
Yeah, no,
Is it a CCRC? What is it?
I believe it is. It's affiliated with the Episcopal Church.
Okay,
And
CCRC.
you've heard really nice things about it.
awesome. Bob,
Yes, it's
that's
a
good
very
news, right?
nice, it's a very nice facility, and they also have now as part of their buildings and philosophy, a hospice group.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and one thing most people don't realize when they go to talk about money with these facilities, that some of them are flexible on things like entrance fees. I found that with my parents. I mean, if you're comfortable negotiating, I would encourage you to do so.
Good advice. Thank you. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions popping up. So as Jesse mentioned, we will also be emailing the survey link to folks that might have had an issue with clicking on the link just to, right after we sign off. And we'll also be sending information on next month's seminar, Ways to Love Your Brain.
And then I just wanted to add in also, if there's any topics, like either a thought was triggered after our conversation today, or anything that you really would like to learn about in this realm, let us know. We're happy to put something together. It may be a panel discussion with the types of people that provide those services, or a panel discussion with communities, but we'll follow your lead. And if there's things you really want to know about, please let us know.
Yeah, we've got dozens of topics we can present, and we'll probably be doing these Downsizing Made Easy seminars rather regularly as well, because it's just such an important topic and where everybody wants to start, right? Where do I begin? Yes, Tony.
Yes, one question. So you said you all don't have a lot of information about Virginia, but if my son lives in Virginia and if I was in Alexandria and if I was interested in moving over there, would you be able to refer me to someone like yourselves who has a lot of experience in that area?
Oh, well, we have experience in Virginia, but have not toured senior communities in Virginia.
Okay.
We focused on Montgomery County and DC so far with that.
For the facilities, okay.
We'd certainly be happy to do the research and due diligence that would be necessary to support someone that's interested in moving. Now, that's Northern Virginia, though. It's limited to Fairfax, Arlington.
Right. Because he's in Alexandria, so I'd want to be nearby. Sure. Yeah, he keeps saying, "Mom, move to Virginia."
Yeah, no,
I'm not ready to do that yet, but eventually, yeah. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The key, Tony, is make the plan, right?
Yeah. Well, this has been very informative. I'm very appreciative of your doing this. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
And Bob just mentioned, and thank you, Bob. I talked about Montgomery County, how there's currently 26 villages and that's expanding. He asked me to point out that there's also 13 in DC.
So, Mount Pleasant. I love that neighborhood, Bob. I didn't know there was a village there. That's awesome.
It really is a wonderful concept, neighbors helping neighbors.
Mhm. Yeah, for people that want to age in place, it makes it possible. You know, it's like the communes back in the 70s, right? Who's old enough to remember that? Yes, Meryl.
Oh, she's old enough to remember. Oh, you're
Yeah, but she's muted.
Bryce was ahead of me, so.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Take
Sorry,
Bryce
Bryce.
first.
I definitely remember that.
Oh, you're way too young for that.
Nice to see
By
you.
the way, everybody, I want to introduce Bryce to you all. He's with 123 Junk, someone we use regularly with a lot of these clients because they've got a lot of stuff to get rid of. So we love 123 Junk. They come in with their big red trucks. They'll donate if you need donations and get you receipts for that and junk the rest. So thank you
Thanks
for
for
being
your
here.
kind words, Jen.
Hey, Bryce.
Yes, Meryl.
Okay, can you share the slides with us? Is that possible? There's a lot of good information in it.
Yeah, let's look into that. Jesse will look into that. Yeah.
Okay, and Tony had a question. How do we find out about the village?
Was there a particular village you're interested in, Tony?
Or the villages in Montgomery County, is there a list of them somewhere or?
You know, I'll send it to you, Tony. There was actually a great article in December in the Parish Times,
Oh,
and that discusses what villages are and lists all the current ones in Montgomery County. But
That would
I'm
be
happy
wonderful.
to I can download and email it to you, make it easy for
that would
you.
be wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Or a link to it. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, we have an article in that issue as well. Maybe you could send her that, Laura. Might be helpful.
Sure. It's an article that sort of summarizes what we did today too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Meryl said she'd like that village list too, Laura.
great.
And I would like the list too, please.
And what's your name?
Anda Stonkai.
You'll have to spell that for us.
ANDA, and last name S, like in sugar, Z like in zebra, T like in Tom, A, N like in Nancy, KAY.
Thank you. We'll get that to you for sure. And
Okay,
thank you
so
for being here
Tony,
today.
Meryl, and Anda. Anybody else?
Bob is just mentioning that there's also a thing called WAVE, which is an acronym for Washington Area Village Exchange, which provides coordination in all area villages. That's really cool. I did not know about that. That is excellent information. We're going to check that out.
I love how all this stuff is coming forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a village.
Montgomery County actually has, it's the only area I'm aware of that has a government paid village coordinator who is also an incredibly awesome human being. She's not somebody who provides services to us, but just the fact that she's there and is an advocate for villages.
Yeah. Do you think she would talk to us just so we can get an idea of her role?
She might. Her name is Pazit, P-A-Z-I-T. Her last name is Aviv, A-V-I-V.
Okay, we will look her up.
You can just Google her.
Okay. All right. Well,
Can you repeat? I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you repeat one more time what the WAVE stands for? Washington Area Village, what?
Washington Area Village Exchange.
Exchange. Thank you.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
I'd like to add something. Senior Services Alliance actually had a connection to her, and we still couldn't get her to come and talk.
Really?
So if,
You might just be too big.
if you do get her, all the power to you.
Well, we'll
So-
share her if we do.
Thank you.
Maybe she's just too awesome being busy. It's
Yeah.
possible.
It very
Yeah.
well could be, especially if you have 26 in Montgomery County alone.
She's like a village coordinator. She's the one-armed paper hanger with an itch.
Got it.
Meryl,
Well,
if
she's
we're
busy. It
able
means
to
she's
get a
doing her job,
conversation
so that's
with her,
good.
We'll include you in.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you.
All right, folks. Well, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. I hope you learned something and that it was helpful, and keep us in
Thank
mind
you.
if you have questions in the future
Thank
or
you.
clients that might have questions. So
Thank you very much.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thanks
Have a great-
everybody for
guys.
participating. Really appreciate it.
Have a
Bye,
great
Sal.
day.
Thank you.
Have fun storming the castle.
Thank you.
Oh, we will hang on for a little bit if anybody wants to ask, a personal question or some more specific detailed question.
Yeah, we'll stay here as long as you like.
Thank you, Jan and Laura. Good seeing you.
Welcome. Thanks,
Good.
Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Meryl, you have to unmute though.
I know it's difficult. For some reason, it's not working. But what I want to say is to both of you, thank you so much. I've seen a lot of venues on downsizing, but nobody has made a conglomerate and put everything together the way you have. I mean,
Well,
this
thank you.
is just one happy package is what I call it.
Just
So-
curious, the other downsizing presentations you've attended, did it focus mostly just on housing and selling the house, or what was different?
Just downsizing in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't go into some of the housing things that you did,
The housing options?
the housing options.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. The other
Meryl-
presentations we've seen have been more what to toss and what to keep, and maybe some resources for hauling it away, but it was not so focused on the options available for housing.
Yeah, as well as the family involvement, which we know in many cases is imperative.
Absolutely.
So we
Yeah.
actually, and Jan mentioned it during the presentation, but when we meet one-on-one with our clients, we have this wonderful book. It's a planner. So it's sort of what we just went through, but at much greater detail. So for example, it has the ability for you to start comparing and contrasting the communities you went to. It has a checklist of what's important to you. Just kind of start to get your thinking together in a logical, organized way. So.
Is that something that we could buy from you? Or, because if I meet somebody, I want to be able to explain to them some of the processes and what they need to be prepared for. So having a copy of it would just help understanding the logic of just saying, hey, you need to talk to these people and this is why.
Well, it is a hardbound book that we couldn't provide digitally. So it's typically we provide it when we meet with clients face to face, whether it's a consultation or a listing appointment or whatever. We do have a price on it, but we typically provide it at no cost once we meet with someone. So if you wanted to get a copy, Meryl, we could talk.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we could donate a copy to Senior Services Alliance.
Well, I'm not looking for a freebie. I just
No.
that's why I said.
Happy to do that. As a matter of fact, we're meeting the printer today to approve the proof. We're getting our first batch printed, so.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Because I now have you on the top of my list.
Well, thank you.
Always. Thank you again, ladies. Lovely seeing
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, gotta go.
All right. Have a great day.
All right.
Thanks, you too.
Bye-bye.
Anyone else have any questions that they'd like us to address before they go? I don't see any raised hand. You can just raise your hand. Well,
Yeah, we do still have a few people here. Some of them all have the same name though. All right, folks, we'll let you go then. Have a great day. Stay warm and healthy.
thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.